I still see that moment clearly, even now. The street was louder than usual, filled with sirens and confused voices, but somehow everything around me felt quiet. I stood across the road holding a cup of coffee I wasn't even drinking, watching people gather in front of Lauren's office. Police cars were parked right outside the building. Their lights flashed against the glass windows like a warning that came too late. My hands were shaking. Not because I was scared, but because I knew exactly how this ended months earlier. She had looked me straight in the eye and said, "JC, mind your business." Those words echoed in my head as I watched her employees walk out, faces pale, whispering to each other. Back then, I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I didn't raise my voice. I simply nodded. I minded my business. And that choice changed everything. My name is JC and I'm 29 years old. This story isn't about anger or jealousy. It's about loyalty pushed too far and what happens when silence becomes the loudest response. It's about watching someone ignore every warning and learning that saving them might cost you your own peace. Lauren Whitmore was once my closest friend. We weren't related by blood, but she felt like family. We shared late nights, big dreams, and long talks about the future. When she talked about starting her own consulting business, her eyes lit up with excitement. I believed in her. I stood beside her when no one else did. I helped her in ways she never asked for but always accepted. I checked numbers, organized files, answered emails, and smoothed things over when clients got upset. I told myself that's what friends do. You protect each other. You cover their mistakes. You stay loyal. But slowly something felt wrong. Small things didn't add up. Payments were late. Promises were broken. Clients sounded confused, even upset when they called. Every time I brought it up, Lauren brushed it off with a smile that felt forced. "Relax, JC. You worry too much." I believed her. I wanted to believe her, because accepting the truth meant facing something painful that the person I trusted most was changing into someone I didn't recognize. One evening, after everyone had left the office, I sat alone at my desk, staring at my phone. I had a message from a client asking about a charge that didn't make sense. My chest felt tight. I knew then that this wasn't a mistake anymore. It was a pattern. That was the night I decided I couldn't stay silent forever. I didn't know how or when, but I knew something had to change. I just didn't realize that the moment I spoke up, Lauren would be the one who pushed me away, and that would be the beginning of her fall. After that night, something inside me stayed restless. I went to work every day with a tight feeling in my chest, like I was carrying a secret that didn't belong to me. I watched Lauren move through the office with confidence, laughing loudly, shaking hands, talking about growth and success. From the outside, she looked unstoppable. But behind the scenes, everything felt unstable. I started noticing how carefully she avoided certain questions, how quickly she changed the topic when money came up, how often she pushed responsibility onto others. One afternoon, a woman named Emily Parker, one of Lauren's oldest clients, pulled me aside. Her voice was low, her eyes tired. "JC, I don't want to cause trouble," she said, "but something isn't right. I've been charged twice this month. I checked the records." Emily was right. When I brought it to Lauren later that day, she barely looked at the screen. "It's probably a system issue," she said. "I'll handle it." But she didn't. Days passed, then weeks. The complaints didn't stop, they multiplied. I started fixing things quietly, just like before. Refunding clients, explaining delays, making excuses for Lauren when she wasn't around. I told myself I was protecting the business, protecting her. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't helping anymore. I was enabling. The real betrayal didn't come in a loud argument or a dramatic moment. It came quietly in the way Lauren began treating me like a problem. She stopped thanking me, stopped including me in meetings, stopped seeing me as a friend. One night, after another long day of cleaning up her mess, I finally spoke up again. My voice was calm, but my heart was racing. "Lauren, this is serious. People are getting hurt. This can't keep going." She stared at me, her expression cold and unfamiliar. "Why are you acting like you're better than me?" she snapped. "You think you know everything." That hurt more than I expected. I wasn't trying to be better than her. I was trying to save her. I reminded her of everything I'd done. The late nights, the unpaid help, the loyalty. I thought maybe she would soften. Maybe she would listen instead. She crossed her arms and said the words that changed everything. "JC, you're overstepping. Mind your business." The room went silent. In that moment, I realized something painful. She didn't see me as a friend anymore. She saw me as a threat. I left the office that night feeling smaller than I ever had before. I sat in my car staring at the steering wheel, fighting back tears. I kept asking myself one question over and over. How did caring so much turn me into the enemy? That was the night I stopped trying to fix things. Not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. And without knowing it yet, I had just taken my first real step away from her chaos and toward the truth. She could no longer escape. Walking away was harder than staying. People don't talk enough about that part. Every morning, I still woke up thinking about the office, about the clients, about the mess I knew was growing without me there to control it. My hands would shake as I made my coffee. My mind kept whispering, "You should say something. You should help." But then I remembered Lauren's face when she told me to mind my business. The coldness, the disrespect. So I stayed quiet at work. Things started changing fast. Emails piled up unanswered. Clients waited longer for replies. Mistakes that I used to fix quietly were now visible to everyone. I watched it all from the sidelines, feeling guilty and relieved at the same time. Lauren stopped calling me her right hand. She stopped asking for my opinion. She barely spoke to me unless she needed something. And when she did speak, her tone was sharp. "Why didn't you remind me about that deadline?" she snapped one day. I looked at her calmly. "You didn't ask." She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. That's when I realized she didn't miss my help. She missed my silence. At night, I questioned myself constantly. Was I being cruel? Was I letting people get hurt? But then I remembered how many chances I gave her, how many warnings she ignored, how she pushed me away when I tried to protect her. I wasn't responsible anymore. One evening, overheard two coworkers whispering near the printer. "Something's wrong with the accounts," one said. "Yeah, clients are starting to complain openly." The other replied. My heart dropped. This was the moment I had feared and expected. Lauren was losing control. She knew it. She became defensive, short-tempered, desperate. She blamed vendors. She blamed clients. She blamed staff. But she never blamed herself. One night, as I packed my bag, Lauren stopped me at the door. "You've changed," she said quietly. I looked at her, tired but honest. "No," I replied. "I just stopped covering for you." She didn't respond. That silence told me everything. I went home that night knowing something big was coming. I didn't know when. I didn't know how, but for the first time in months, I slept without guilt. Walking away didn't feel brave. It felt like betrayal of my values, my heart, and the person I used to be. For weeks, I lived in a strange in-between place. I was still physically present at work, but emotionally, I had stepped back. I stopped checking numbers. Stopped answering calls meant for Lauren. Stopped fixing problems before anyone noticed them. And every time I didn't step in, guilt crept up my spine. I would sit at my desk, staring at my screen, hearing chaos unfold just a few feet away. Phones ringing. Voices raised. Confusion growing. My fingers would hover over the keyboard, ready to jump in like I always did. But then I remembered her words. "Mind your business," so I did. Lauren changed after that. Not slowly, suddenly. She became sharp, restless, suspicious. She watched everyone closely, like the walls were closing in. The confidence she once wore so easily now looked like a mask glued to her face. One afternoon, she cornered me near the break room. "You're letting me drown?" she said quietly. I looked at her. Really looked. Dark circles under her eyes. Hands trembling. Fear she refused to name. No, I replied. I stopped being your life jacket. She walked away without another word. At night, I questioned myself endlessly. Was I cold? Was I selfish? But then I replayed every warning I gave her. Every chance. Every late night I spent protecting her reputation while mine slowly disappeared. I realized something painful. I wasn't abandoning her. I was finally choosing myself. Silence became my shield. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. And that silence made room for the truth to rise. The end didn't come with screaming or drama. It came quietly, like something giving up by then. Lauren barely spoke to anyone. She stopped pretending everything was fine. Her office door stayed closed most days, and when it opened, she looked like someone carrying a weight too heavy to put down. I could feel the tension in the air. Conversations stopped when she walked by. People avoided eye contact. The trust she once controlled so easily was gone. One morning, an official-looking envelope arrived. I saw her hands freeze when she picked it up. She didn't open it right away. She just stared at it, breathing slowly, like she already knew what was inside. When she finally did, her face drained of color. That was the moment I knew. There was no fixing this anymore. The audit moved fast. Too fast for excuses. Too clear to deny. Every number she ignored, every shortcut she took, every warning she laughed off, it all came back at once. People who once praised her now asked questions she couldn't answer. Clients pulled out quietly. Vendors stopped calling. Employees started leaving one by one with polite emails and forced smiles. Lauren stayed late every night. Sometimes I saw her sitting alone in the dark, staring at her computer screen like it might forgive her. One evening, she called me again. Her voice cracked this time. JC, I didn't think it would end like this. I held the phone tightly, my chest aching. I tried to warn you, I said softly. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She just whispered, I thought you'd always catch me. That sentence broke something inside me, because I realized she didn't see me as a friend. She saw me as a safety net. Then, when I stepped away, she had nothing left to fall on. The business shut down less than a month later. No goodbye message, no explanation. Just silence. Her name disappeared from emails, from signs, from conversations. And just like that, everything she built was gone. After everything ended, life didn't suddenly feel lighter. It felt quieter. Too quiet at first. The office emptied out. Lauren's name stopped coming up in conversations. Her emails bounced back. Her business faded like it had never existed. And for the first time in a long while, there was nothing left for me to fix. That scared me more than the chaos ever did. I realized how much of my identity had been tied to saving her, being useful, being needed. Without that role, I felt lost. I would wake up some mornings with the habit of worry still in my chest, only to remember it wasn't my problem anymore. And that was both freeing and painful. I replayed our memories often. The laughter, the late nights, dreams we shared before things went wrong. I asked myself if I could have done more, if I should have spoken louder, stayed longer, tried harder. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had already given more than I should have. What I stopped giving wasn't help. It was permission. Permission for her to keep lying. Permission for her to keep crossing lines. Permission for her to keep using my silence as protection. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was self-respect. That lesson didn't come easy. I still feel sadness when I think about Lauren. Not because I want her life back, but because I understand how fear can turn people into someone they don't recognize. I understand how pride can be louder than truth. But understanding doesn't mean accepting harm. Today, I live differently. When something feels wrong, I don't ignore it. When I speak up and get dismissed, I listen to what that tells me. And when someone tells me to mind my business while everything burns, I step back. Not with anger, it's with clarity. Because I've learned that people show you who they are the moment you stop fixing their mistakes. If you're listening to this and it feels personal, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not cruel for choosing peace. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. And you are not responsible for the collapse of something you tried to save. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is let go and let the truth do what it was always meant to do. If this story made you pause, reflect, or see yourself in it, take that seriously. Growth often starts in discomfort. And if you want more real, emotional stories about boundaries, betrayal, curing and quiet revenge, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the real win is walking away whole while everything else falls apart.